Hello kids, and welcome to another one of Emma's Snippets. Now last week we did a video on finding space and boundaries in a time where we celebrate exhaustion in our culture. Now one of the things we didn't talk about in that video that I really wanted to talk about, but I could see the minutes ticking up, was what to do or how to approach things when you do work for a company that does recognise the importance of well-being, that does think about work-life balance, that does have the right ethics and procedures and processes and all of that in place to make sure that you have that space so that you don't get exhausted. But there's one or two people in the business that don't have that attitude, that have an old-fashioned attitude of, I need to see the right attitude from you, and as far as I'm concerned, that's basically exhaustion, and that's how it looks. I've seen it in my career, and I've had many clients come to me. Right, so what do you do in that situation? Now, the obvious answer is to go to your HR or to talk to somebody else. Okay, that's the obvious answer, and there will be whistleblowing in place, there will be procedures in place, and there will be people you can speak to in place, whether that be your mental health first aiders, another director, another manager, or HR or some such. But it's not always easy, is it? Especially when you work in a little company, you know, things get round perhaps, or you just don't feel comfortable voicing that, or perhaps the person that's creating that funnel in the culture of that company is quite senior, and you're just like, well, no one's going to listen to me, are they? So I wanted to tell you a little story about when I was first working, and I knew two guys that had the same sort of job, right? Both of them lovely, both of them very good at what they did, both of them very hard workers. So let's just assume from a like-to-like basis, they're basically the same guy, right? One of them always left at 5 p.m. on the dot regardless. Now, he would stay if there was a real reason to, but he expected that extra time to come back to him somehow, whether it was time out of the office, whether it was he'd go on a lunch or something like that, or however worked for him. But in essence, he valued bath time. He had young kids. He wanted to get home to see them, and he was not working beyond 5 p.m. unless in his mind, whatever he was working on really would fall out of bed, right? The other guy also got young kids, worked every hour God sent. You couldn't be in the office and not see him, right? He worked so bloody hard, this guy, all the time. And I'm not saying the one that worked in the daytime worked hard, the other one kind of did nothing and then worked hard in the evening. They both worked bloody hard, right? So one day it kicks off. One of those clients calls the office at like 6:30. I happened to be staying late because I was working on something myself that needed me there. And also, you know, do as I say, not as I do. So I was staying late, right? And on this occasion, the guy who's always around had left because his kid had something. I can't remember what. Maybe it was a school thing. I don't remember. But he'd left. He'd still worked later than his hours, but he'd left at like 6 or something, right? The director comes storming round and he's, where is he? Where is he? I need this thing done. I need this thing done now. It's like, well, he's gone. He's gone home. His daughter had this thing. He's gone home. You know, and this director was fuming. How dare he? He knew we had this on the line. We've got so much to do. Rah, 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 rah. You should wait till he gets in the morning. I'm going to talk to him. He was in so much shit, right? So much shit because he wasn't there. Now, at no point did the director look for the other guy. At no point did the director turn around and say, where's the other guy? Why isn't he here too? I need both of them. Because in his mind, one is there and should be relied on to be there, and one isn't and therefore won't be. And he could call either of them on their mobile. Neither of them are unreachable. But in that moment, he had decided that that guy will be there, and he came out of his office and he wasn't. So the moral of the story here is, you set up in other people's minds what they expect from you. This guy, bless him, he worked so many hours to be seen at his desk by this director. And then the time that he needed it, sod's law said he was out the door. The other guy's career was in no way dented by this because the director didn't expect him to be there because he just accepted that the guy had boundaries. It's just a psychological thing. They had given this interpretation of how they worked. That was the way they were. And the director just accepted it because neither of them were bad at their job. Both of them did the same thing. So it makes you think, when you're setting your boundaries and you're working in an area where you've got this kind of management, that has these kind of outlooks, think, what am I setting as a standard? What do they expect from me? And how much of that have I done to myself? Have I created a rod for my own back? Do they value me when I turn up because they appreciate his extra time? Or have I suggested somehow in my behaviour, this is typical and this is normal, and anything else is sub? Give it some thought. I bet there are habits you've got that you think are rewarding your career, and they're not. They're just putting it in other people's head that you're just accessible at that point. And if you've got managers or directors or whatever that are blocking that funnel of that ethos, you know, and you are understood in the business to only be there outside of your hours when you're really needed, they're not going to look for you. And they're certainly not going to complain about the fact that you weren't there. Because at the end of the day, we've all got mobiles, right? If it's that desperate, they'll call you. So I hope that helps. Worth giving some thought. That's Emma's Snippets for today.